Nina's Jewel today.
Come on in.
Nina's today.
Come on in.
Hi, and thanks for joining. If you're new here, I'm Wendy and this is Nina's Jewels. My husband and I buy things at flea markets, thrift stores, and garage sales to sell online and flip for a profit. If that's content you're interested in, stick around. And make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps us out as we're trying to grow our channel. Alright guys, this video is going to be about whether or not we've entered an eBay wormhole. And I'm really beginning to think that we have, because in my 13 years of selling on eBay, I have never had so many things happen that are not only frustrating, but weird in such a concentrated, short period of time. So it is February, and the things that have happened that we're going to go over in this video happened in primarily a 3-week period, but most of the things happened really in one day, but in a 1-week period. I mean, it was pretty insane. And there was one day when I was really starting to lose it. And one day when I did lose it, like I lost my patience and I was not very professional with a customer, which has not happened, has only happened twice in the 13 years of selling on eBay that I can remember. Luckily, she was not aware that I had lost it on her, but there have just been so many things that have happened that I officially lost it. So we'll just dive right into all of the crazy things that have happened. And if you're also in an eBay wormhole, let me know. I would like to know if I'm not alone. And I just don't know what's going on. And you know, I was gonna wait and make this video after I felt like we had exited the wormhole, but just today I woke up to 2 exciting new wormhole activities. And so finally I was like, you know, I'm gonna have to make this video because this video is gonna get way too long. So maybe there will be a wormhole part 2. All right, well, let's get started. We are going to start off with an update to the stress ball mascot with arms and legs. And if you watched the video that we did previously where I talked about that, this is an update to that. Unfortunately, he was not finished with us quite yet, and I was afraid of that, but I was thinking positive at the time that I covered it in the last video. So we had sold an earth ball stress ball mascot to someone who then claimed that we sent him the wrong item. And not only claimed that we sent him the wrong item, but that we sold him the item and then subsequently changed the photo in the listing and changed the listing itself to maliciously trick him. He filed a dispute with eBay stating that we had done that, and eBay of course closed the dispute in our favor, stating, you know, that that's not possible and, you know, you can't get your money back because the seller didn't do this. So he had also attempted to leave negative feedback. If you want to, he was not successful in that. That's a whole story in and of itself. But if you want to get more information about that, you can check out our video. But he has now filed a payment dispute with his credit card company, stating the same reason, that we tried to trick him and maliciously send him the wrong stress ball and glued arms and legs on it. And so now we're having to deal with that whole scenario and provide proof to the credit card company that we did indeed send him the item that he ordered. And so we're working through that and waiting for that dispute to close. So hopefully that will close in our favor. I can't see that it won't, because his claim is just insane. But we'll see what happens. And I'll provide some details on the screen here. You can see what all information that he provided to prove his side of the story, and you can see what kind of person that we're dealing with through the information that he provided. But that saga still continues. The next thing that happened, and this actually began before I would say that we entered the wormhole. I think that the wormhole entrance really started with the stress ball scenario, but maybe this was the beginning of the wormhole and I just didn't see it at the time. But back in December, around the time of December 15th, we had received a Bureau violation. for selling Spectrum remotes. We got a notification that we received a violation for selling 3 Spectrum remotes. And these remotes we had purchased at a estate sale. They were all brand new and packaged. They had the batteries in the package and they had the instruction manuals in the package. And so I was like, oh, okay. There was no information on why we had received the Vero violation other than copyright infringement. So I had researched on the eBay website, like trying to figure out exactly what about the remotes was not allowed. And then I had also followed up with the email address that they had provided from Charter and asked, what about these remotes is not allowed? Because we also, at the time that those came down, had another Spectrum remote listed and some Charter remotes. They were different model numbers and some of them were not new, some of them were out of the package. So I wanted to make sure that those were allowed and that we didn't need to take those down. I didn't understand what specifically about the ones that received the Vero violation caused them to be against policy. But I never heard back, of course, because you never hear back from the person who Veros you. And then, I gave it a couple weeks, didn't hear back, and then it was Christmas time. So then in January, we got another Vero violation for one of the Charter remotes. And along with that, we also received a 3-day suspension because we had made the same mistake again in eBay's eyes. Well, I was super frustrated because I felt like I had done my due diligence. I had checked the eBay website to see what the policies were. I had reached out to Charter to find out what about the remotes was wrong, and then I had never heard back. And I felt like these were different remotes. They were branded differently. They were different model numbers. They didn't provide me any information about specifically what was wrong with the remotes for having them listed. They just said copyright infringement. So I suspected that you just weren't allowed to sell any Charter remotes, but nobody really told me. There was no specific information provided to me. So I reached out to eBay and, told them all of this information. That I had emailed Charter requesting clarification and not received any information back, and said, I feel like it's unfair because I had done my due diligence and I received no information. It feels as if you said this, you've broken a rule, but you don't tell me what the rule is, and now you're punishing me for breaking a rule, but I never really knew what the rule was and nobody will tell me what the rule is. But of course, they're like, oh, so sad. We'll reach out to Charter and ask them to contact you back, but you have to give them 5 days. I'm like laughing because I'm like, well, after 5 days, my suspension is over, but okay, thanks for that at least. So of course I did not hear back from Charter. I did reach back out to eBay and said, I didn't hear back from Charter. I think it's incredibly unfair that they can Vero violate you and then, provide you no information. In the meantime, we still had one Charter remote listed, which I did take down. I still to this day don't exactly with 100% accuracy know why the Vero violation was received. I explained what my suspicion is based on the research that I did, but that happened, and I am going to put a chart up that will show how much it did affect our sales being on suspension, and it was significant. It did take us like a full 2 weeks to recover from that. And I also want to give a shout out to Ginger Marvin for providing the reseller spreadsheet that this chart is this chart that we're using. It's part of the reseller spreadsheet that they offer free to sellers, and we love it. It's amazing. But it does show, unfortunately, how much this affected our sales. You see that big dip there. That is the week that we were on suspension, and then it shows us climbing back up. It took us a full 2 weeks to recover from that, so it was very frustrating. So we are very much avoiding any future Vero violations. Avoiding is the key word because we did receive another one, which you'll hear about later in this video. The next thing that happened is here in North Texas, we had a big snow/ice storm, which closed our mail service for like 3 days. And I was super frustrated because typically eBay will adjust the shipping dates, the anticipated receive dates for buyers when there's something like that, like a weather-related issue. Well, I guess they didn't do that. So buyers, we got 2 feedbacks that were both positive, but it was kind of like backhanded compliment from buyers saying, oh, well, we liked the item, but it took a really long time to get here. Shipping was slow. And those were back to back, which normally, I would kind of let slide, but I was already kind of salty about the other stuff that was happening. And I was like, oh, just add that to the list. So I'll show you those 2 feedbacks here. That was like, rubbing salt in the wound on that. And I mean, this stuff was happening like really quickly, back to back, one after the other. And I was just my blood was starting to boil. I was getting real mad. Then within like that same day or the day after, we got a notification that a buyer had opened a dispute that they had not received their item. It was this kimono that we sold, and she said, I didn't get it, but then in the same message, eBay said, the tracking shows that it was delivered. So I was like, ugh. So I had to go in and upload the tracking from my end. I uploaded all the tracking details, and eBay ended up closing the case in our favor. I blocked the buyer, that whole shebang, and that nothing really came of that. We didn't get negative feedback. I didn't have to go through anything else with it, but it was just one more little thing for me to have to deal with. And then that same day, within like an hour of the whole kimono thing, I got a message from the person who I sold these frogs to, or this lot of amphibians to, that she said that we had misrepresented them in the listing and that they were not realistic. And I was like, well, we didn't portray them as realistic. And she said that they had glitter glued all over them. And I'm thinking, well, that's how they were made, And if you look at the pictures, you can clearly see the glitter in all the pictures. And I'll show you a few of the pictures here. And she said she wanted her money back or a partial refund. And, I'm thinking, no, you can look at all the pictures and see that there's clearly glitter in them. We did not sell them as realistic animals. You got what you ordered. So I sent her a very professional message saying, you can clearly see the glitter in all the pictures and you got what you ordered, basically. And I very much expected her to leave negative feedback, but she kind of backed off and said, oh, okay, well, I think you did me wrong, but okay. And I guess she was just fishing for a refund and didn't get one. So that ended up, nothing really came of that, but I was pretty hot at this point. I was like, oh, what is happening? Like, I'm starting to lose it, kind of thing. And so the next thing that happened was this guy, I've talked about in previous videos about difficult buyers who expect a lot of special treatment, ask for a lot of measurements, ask for a lot of information about the product. And then, either they don't buy the item, they buy the item and complain about it later, they just cause trouble. Well, this is an example of that. And normally I would have just let it slide, whatever, but I was hot by now. I was so frustrated. So this guy had me get a bunch of real specific measurements on these boots and had asked a bunch of questions, which I had answered. I had taken the time to go get them out of storage, take them out of the packaging that we had done, get all of the specific measurements for him. It was a lot of trouble, but I did it. I did it happily, provided him with the information. Then I got this message from him, I just felt like it was kind of a petty message from him saying, well, I just noticed that these supposed vintage boots that were made in Mexico, that were made in 1995, say that they were made in Mexico. So I can't make much of an offer on them because of that. And I was like, well, okay. That ended up working out also because we did sell the boots later. I don't remember if it was at full price, but we got a nice price for them to another buyer. So I was like, in your face. But that ended up working out. Then within like just a few minutes of that, I had gotten another message from who I would refer to as a difficult buyer. I had also provided specific measurements and information to her about these Rock Revival jeans. And then she started asking a lot of questions, you know, are those stains on them? What are those markings? What is that weird color? And I was like, there's nothing on there. Like, there's nothing. And if there was, it would have been disclosed. We always disclose anything, any kind of staining, anything in the listing. There's nothing on there. And so I had ended up going in and blocking her because I could just see that that was going to be an issue. So then that right after the boot thing, I had gotten a message from her saying, it won't let me place a bid. And why won't you answer me about the stains? And I was like, I'm losing my mind. So then, within seconds, maybe at the exact same time, I get a message from someone about this golf-themed extendable shoehorn that we had picked up in the Goodwill bins because it was new in package, saying, I'm looking for specific measurements of all the extension lengths. And I'm like, well, that information is available in the listing. So I said, it's available on photo 4, and I referred him to this photo of the item. And, you know, I'm like, done. So I think, okay, I'm not going to hear from this person again. He just didn't see the picture. Then I get this weird message back saying, I've been looking all over online for videos of this item, and I can't find them. And I'm like, oh, weird, block. And I'm thinking, like, eBay is going to mark me down as some kind of like difficult seller because I'm blocking so many people today. I mean, was just like block, 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 block. It was weird. Then within like a few hours of that, a couple hours later, I get another message from another buyer saying, I didn't receive my card. It says it was delivered, but I didn't receive it. And sure enough, I look and it states it was delivered. And I'm like, well, if it states it was delivered, your next step is to touch base with your neighbors and see if maybe they got it, or touch base with your mail carrier, see if they can help you, or touch base with your local post office and they can help you track it. And at that point, I never heard back from him. I'm hoping he found it, or, you know, maybe he was fishing for a refund. I don't know. Never heard back, never got positive feedback, never got negative feedback, never heard a word. I was just feeling extremely defeated by that point. I was like, how many more things can go wrong? How many more frustrating things can happen? Like, can't we just have some sales? Can we have some sales, or maybe some positive messages, maybe some positive feedback rolling in? Like, I was just thinking, what else can possibly go wrong? Well, let me tell you what can possibly go wrong. We had another return request opened. And normally a return request like this wouldn't even bother me because she was real sweet about it. It was just a pair of pants that didn't fit. But I was just thinking, you know, the more returns I think you have open on eBay, I do feel like there's a correlation there between the number of return requests that you have open and the number of sales that you have. I feel like eBay possibly suppresses the number of items that they show to people if you have a lot of open returns. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if that's my imagination. That's just been my personal experience as a seller. So what's been your experience with return requests? Have you noticed a decrease in sales when you have a lot of return requests? Let me know in the comments below. So the next item is definitely up there in what I would call like another saga, similar to the stress ball. And it is the item that caused me to lose my cool with a buyer. Unfortunately, I'm ashamed to say, luckily she didn't realize it. At least I don't think she did. If she did realize it, she didn't let on that she realized it. But we had sold this vintage 2002 CD cleaner. And you can see that in the title of the item, it's listed as 2002. And also we had that information in the item details. So this is an an old product that would not work on modern computer equipment. So I think that, you know, the only reason why someone would purchase it when we purchased it, I'm thinking the only reason why someone would purchase it is as a collectible item or for use on vintage computer equipment. Well, that's not the case. This buyer had purchased it and attempted to use it on modern computer equipment. And of course it didn't work. Of course it didn't work. So we then got a message from her that stated, I'm so disappointed. I tried to use this on my PC and it didn't work. I tried to use this on my car CD player and it didn't work. I tried to use this on my DVD player and it didn't work. And I'm just so sad. I'd like to return this item to you. So can you please send me the information that I need to return it? Well, at the time I got that message, I was not in my office, so I couldn't respond immediately. And I didn't even know what I was going to say. I mean, I was so taken aback by the fact that she purchased this vintage computer software and tried to run it in modern equipment that I was like, how do I even respond to this? I was giving it some thought, and before I could get back to my office to respond, she had opened a return request. But not just any return request. She opened a return request using the eBay buyer protection program and opened an item not as described return request. So eBay automatically approved it, and then a defect went against us. Well, I mean, at that point, I was like losing my mind. I was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? How, I mean, she received the item that she got. It was not as described. She just didn't know what she was doing. Like, how can you possibly think that a 2002 computer software is going to work in your modern computer, DVD player, car CD player, any kind of modern equipment? Are you joking? Like, is somebody playing a trick on me? Are you joking? Is this the stress ball guy coming back as this other person trying to play a joke on me? Are you kidding? So I was like, all right, I got to get eBay on the phone. So I got eBay customer service on the phone, explained it to the guy, and he said, there's not really anything you can do. You have to wait for the item to come back. And at that point, you can file a complaint against the buyer for misusing the eBay seller protection program. And you can either wait for the claim to expire and then file a dispute against it, or you can offer her a partial refund because you can't resell a used item, or you can just refund her and be done with it. And I was like, well, that's so unfair because she's just a liar. So I just waited for the item to come back at that point and tried to cool down about it a little bit. So the item came back and I contacted eBay again, let them know that we got the item back and it was in used condition, that we could not resell it. And they said, well, you can offer her a partial refund, but she has to agree to take it. And if she doesn't, then they went through the whole shebang again. So I was like, well, I just knew that this was not going to go in my favor. So I reached out to her and I said, I've contacted eBay customer service and we're willing to offer you a $8 refund, which was 50% off of the asking price. And I said, and the reason why is because we've received back a used item, which we now cannot resell, and because you've returned the item as item not as described, which is not true. You received exactly the item that you described. You know, I worded it a lot more professionally than that, but that's what I said to her. Well, I got a message back from her saying, well, you know, the item didn't work in any of my computers, and you sold me an item that didn't work despite my equipment being better than what it said it would work on. Like, it said it would work on Microsoft 3.1, and I have a, Microsoft whatever, and it didn't work on that. And I'm thinking, like, she really is. Like, she does not know what's going on in the world. And at that point, like, I lost it. I lost my cool. And what I started to type was so much worse than what I ended up typing. But what I ended up saying to her, because she said that the software said that it was corrupt or missing files. She said something along the lines of, it didn't work on it and it must be corrupt or missing files. So I said, that is not how technology works. And I think you're right about there may be some missing files. We'll process the full refund. Because at that point, I just wanted to be done with it. I didn't want to think about her ever again. And I just wanted it to be over. Well, I thought like that, and I had already blocked her. And she had already left us positive feedback. That's the other thing that's crazy about this, is she had already left us positive feedback. So I thought like I'm going to get an ugly message back from her, but it went totally over her head. Like she did not get it. She just responded back and said, okay, thank you so much. The reason why I said that it had missing files is because one of my devices said something that it was missing or had corrupt files. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this, you're never going to win this argument, Wendy. It's never going to happen. So I felt bad. It was wrong that I said that, but I was so frustrated at that point. Like I was losing it. I was like at the end of my rope. I was just at the end of my rope with all of these things that were happening with eBay. But honestly, there's 2 more things. And there could be something on my phone right now. I could pick up my phone, I swear, and there could be like 3 more things. I just feel like we are in some kind of alternate dimension. So the next thing that happened is, as you know, if you've watched some of our previous videos, we had purchased a big lot of Playboy magazines. And before I listed those, I read like 3 times, I read the eBay policy on listing adult materials. And I mean, I made sure that we were following that policy to a T because I did not want to break the policy. And the policy states very specifically which magazines you can list. And Playboy and Playgirl are within that. Penthouse and Hustler, like you can't list those. Like there's very specific magazines that they allow. But even within the magazines that they allow, if it shows nudity on the cover, you can't list it. And they have like very specific definitions of what nudity is. Like they list out items of nudity that can't be shown. And one of the items of nudity that can't be shown is the nipple on a woman's breast. Well, one of the magazines that we had like a woman in a sheer garment, and you could, through the sheer garment, you could see her nipple. And so we had followed the cue of some of the other sellers and used like a computer generated artwork to cover it up. So you couldn't see it anymore. I mean, it was 100% covered up. We had taken like, some graphic art and covered up the breasts on the cover and listed it. I mean, if you opened it, no matter how hard you tried, you 100% could not see the nudity. We were within the guidelines of eBay. And we got a notification this morning, actually, that listing had been taken down for violating policy. Actually, it wasn't this morning, it was yesterday. And so when I had followed up with eBay about the CD case, I also asked the customer service rep who was helping me about that. And I explained, I know that I am within the guidelines of the policy. I 100% know with a fact, if you open up my listing and look at it, that it fits within the guidelines of the policy. We made sure. And so he was able to go in and open our listing and look at it, and he agreed. He said, yes, I agree that it follows the policy. Would you like me to submit this for reinstatement? And I said, yes, please. So then this morning, it was when I got an email back from the reinstatement team saying, your material is offensive and it's not going to be reinstated, and you're wrong. And I was like, no, you're wrong. You're wrong. Like I am 100% within the guidelines. I've read your policy up and down, backwards and forwards, and I know for a fact that this fits. You cannot have a policy that's that detailed, and then I follow it to a T, and then you just are like, nope. And I've noticed, I went in today and I looked, and there is not a single listing for that issue anymore. They've taken them all down. So I'm now beginning to wonder if they are moving towards taking all Playboys down, all Playgirls, if they're just moving towards taking all of that down. So, I mean, it's not that big of a deal to us because we've sold almost all of the ones that we have listed. But, I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting that they're moving in that direction and that they're wasting their time with that kind of thing. But, I mean, it's extremely frustrating. If you have a policy and then we're following it and then you're still taking down the merchandise, I don't understand how that's in eBay's best interest. But anyway, that's beside the point. Just add it to my list. And then the last thing that also happened this morning. I received it within the same hour that I received the Playboy notification this morning, and it was another Vero violation, which took me completely off guard. And it was for a violation for a Lululemon garment that we had up. It was for using a stock photo. So I don't know if I am out of the Lulu loop on Lululemon giving out Vero violations, or if this is a new thing, if they've just started doing this on their products. But I went in and took down all the stock photos of any Lululemon garments that I had, and I'm just using my own photos now because apparently they don't allow you to use their stock photos anymore. So heads up, if you have any Lululemon items listed, they are giving out Vero violations for using their stock photos. So make sure you take those down before you get a Vero violation. So just when I thought, oh, I'm gonna make sure I don't get any more Vero violations, I'm not gonna get suspended again, I got another Vero violation. Oh my gosh. So I am just waiting to exit this wormhole. I mean, I do not know what is happening. I have been selling on eBay for 13 years and never in my life have I had so many crazy things happen in such a short period of time. And I'm a rule follower, you guys. I don't know what's going on. I do not break rules. So this is so unusual. But if this is, are you in a wormhole? I mean, is this something that's going on for other people? Do you feel like eBay is like cracking down on things? Or do you feel like the crazies are coming out of the woodwork lately? What's happening? Why is this happening to me? Is this happening to you? Let me know. If you enjoyed this content, please make sure you hit the like button, and also please make sure you subscribe with the notification bells on so you can be informed of all of our newest content. Thanks so much for joining us today, guys, and please help me get out of this wormhole. Check out the listings that we have on our eBay store. You can check them out in the link below, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.
Little